been a minute. Let's get into it. I came across this post on Facebook that asked the question, why would God allow this? And this referring to sickle cell anemia. This post was found in a Facebook group, a sickle cell Facebook group that I'm a part of. And I think it's a very valid question. It's a question that I asked myself as well in the previous years. So I just thought to shed some light on that answer. So in order for us to truly understand why God allows this, we got to first take it back to the beginning, Genesis 1 and 2, where, as most of you should know, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth was without form, and darkness was over the face of the deep, and so on and so forth. He created the stars, he created the sun, the moon, he created the clouds, separated the skies from the sky, the firmament, the trees, the animals, and then he created us, and he said it was good. Now, if we take note of that, Genesis 1 and 2 was an absolute perfect world. This world was blameless. This world was sinless, painless. This world was sorrowless, careless. Everything about this world in Genesis 1 and 2 was pure bliss and harmony. There was nothing wrong with the world in Genesis 1 and 2. It was absolute perfection. Okay? The problem lies in Genesis 3, where, as you see, it says, now the serpent was more crafty than any of the wild animals the Lord God had made. He said to the woman, did God really say you must not eat from any tree in the garden? The woman said to the serpent, we may eat from the trees in the garden, but God did say you must not eat from the tree that is in the middle of the garden, and you must not touch it, or you will die. What happened in Genesis 3 was pure disobedience. They were given instructions not to do something, and they sinned against God by actually doing what it is that they were told not to do. Therefore, sin entered the world. And therefore, this once perfect world became imperfect. This once painless world became painful. As we see later on in Genesis 3, when God started cursing everyone. He cursed the serpent, he cursed humanity, man and woman. We look down and said in Genesis 3 and 14, so the Lord God said to the serpent, because you have done this, cursed are you above all the livestock and all the wild animals. You will crawl on your belly and you will eat dust all the days of your life. And I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offspring and hers. He will crush your head, and you will strike his heel. To the woman, he said, I will greatly increase your pains in childbearing. With pain, you will give birth to children. Your desire will be for your husband, and he will rule over you. And to the man, Adam, he said, because you listened to your wife and ate from the tree about which I commanded you must not eat of, cursed is the ground because of you. Through painful toil, you will eat of it all the days of your life. It will produce thorns and thistles for you, and you will eat the plants of the field. By the sweat of your brow, you will eat your food until you return to the ground, since from it you were taken. For dust you are, and to dust you shall return. Now, if you go back in that curse for the woman, we see the introduction to pain. And that introduction was pain through childbirth. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we are the only creatures in this world that experiences pain during childbirth. And that was as a result of Genesis 3, as a result of the curse placed on woman because of the sin that entered into this land. Okay? Before then, don't forget, Genesis 1 and 2, pure bliss and harmony, painless. You may ask yourself, why didn't God just prevent Genesis 3 from happening? Well, the answer is simple. Freedom of choice, free will, which I think is one of the greatest gifts that God has ever given to us. But I also believe it is the most dangerous gift that he has ever granted us, simply because we could choose against him, leading to our ultimate demise, as you see what happened in Genesis 3. Now, God is love and God is sovereign, and love wouldn't be authentic if it was forced. Okay? So think of, you could have a parrot or a pet bird, canary, who has the capability of flying, and you let that cage open and the window open, and you set that bird free. If the bird comes back, I would consider that that bird truly loves you. So forced love is not real love. It's not authentic. And God wouldn't be who he is if he forced his ways upon us, if he forced us to make decisions according to his will and aligning up with his will and his word. Okay? So another reason as to why God didn't prevent Genesis 3 from happening is in Psalms 24 and 1 and Psalm 115 verse 16. Psalms 24 says, "The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, the world and they that dwell therein." Psalms 115 and 16 says, "The highest heavens belong to the Lord, but the earth he has given to man." And that simply states that this earth was given to us to manage. Yes, the Father still owns this earth, but we are the tenants. He is the landlord, just like you would have in an apartment. If you are a tenant in an apartment, you have certain contractual obligations that you must adhere to. Yes, you have the keys to this place. Yes, you lay your head. Yes, you can control who comes in and who goes out. Yes, you pay the bills and you have your stuff moved in. This is your house. This is your place. And as a matter of fact, the landlord is actually not supposed to enter into your place without your permission or without your say so. Okay? But if you were to break any of these contractual obligations, then there are consequences that must be paid, whether they be in fees like a security deposit or an eviction notice. And that's what you see happen. You see both of those consequences taking place in the Garden of Eden. They had to pay for their sins by a curse, and they were evicted out of the Garden of Eden. So we see pain has entered into the world due to sin. Okay? So first and foremost, we look at the beginning, Genesis 1 and 2. Again, it was a perfect world. Genesis 3, sin entered into the world, disobedience, therefore making it imperfect. Now you may ask, still, that doesn't answer my question on why God allows this. Isn't he sovereign? Isn't he omniscient? Can't he do it all? Isn't he the God of gods, King of kings, and all of these things? Yes, he is. However, God is a God of order. He operates in order. God is a slave to his word. So when he says something, when he makes a decree or a declaration, he cannot go back on his word. Okay? So therefore you see the curses that were placed. He placed it on the serpent, he placed it on man, and he placed it on the woman. Those curses will remain until the coming of Christ. Until heaven and earth shall pass away, my word will remain. So what you see happen in Genesis 3 was not just an act of disobedience, but an act of betrayal to the landlord. Adam betrayed God. He betrayed the kingdom. Adam relinquished his control, his governance, his kingship, and gave it to Satan by disobeying God. Okay? And humanity fell into darkness, the kingdom of darkness, where you see we now have a world full of turmoil and hurt, sadness, pain, murder, and all the likes. But does that mean that all hope is lost? No. Because even in Genesis 3, when it happened, when the treason happened, when the act of sin happened, God already had a plan in motion. Okay? He already had a plan in motion for us to be restored to him, for us to be restored back to what we once lost. happiness, joy, peace, harmony, and perfect health.